All right, welcome on in everyone to First CSP for another episode of the Sunday Special, a series where we're able to highlight some things that aren't exactly First CSPs or might be First CSP adjacent. And as such, we're going to take a look at a patch today from Crossroads of America 160 out of Indiana. Let's head on over to the patch table, talk a little bit more about this one. This is the Crossroads TA-1 colon 1, and it looks very similar to a patch that we have highlighted on the channel in episode 65 for Central Indiana. Essentially, it looks exactly the same, although this is the rolled edge border. Instead of saying Crossroads of America Council, it would say Central Indiana Council, and it was a patch that has been produced for the band, hence the band. Now, Central Indiana Council did not exist into the CSP era because they were merged to form Crossroads of America in 1972, and we know that CSPs started in 1970 but didn't really take hold until the first few years, getting production runs up. So the two Central Indiana band patches, which were the TA-1 and TA-2 for Central Indiana, were considered pre-CSPs. The first one had a cut edge, and that's what is shown in episode 65. If you have not seen that, I'll make sure that card is what's linked at the end of this episode. The TA-2, which we don't have in our collection from Central Indiana, would look more similar to this because it does have the rolled edge border. This here is Crossroads TA-1 colon 1 with its green rolled edge border, orange background, red fleur-de-lis, red letters, and band with black music notes. This too was produced for the band, and actually I had erroneously thought earlier that the band existed just prior to this, so in the 60s, but did not know that the band continued to exist. So when I was asking in some online collecting groups, I was given quite the education on the history of the band, and we have a little bit of that. So this is the now Crossroads of America council band, but existed with the previous council and began all the way back in 1917 actually, and has existed continuously since in some form or fashion. They celebrated their 100 years in 2017. These patches, so the two patches, TA-1 and TA-2 from Central Indiana, as well as this patch, the TA-1 colon 1 for Crossroads America, were produced in very small numbers for members of the band. Basically, you had to be a band member to get this. It was not something that was just generally available, and that is why you don't see very many of them. They don't come up very often. It is why we wanted to be able to highlight it today and bring it to you so that you would be able to see it as well. But yes, the band has continued to exist. I actually even had someone comment on the post where I was asking for more information about this that said, yeah, they played at our summer camp last year in 2025. So the band continues to exist. I don't believe they're still producing this patch because these are all quite a bit older. This would have been from in that 1972 time frame. And actually, let's talk a little bit about the numbering here, this being the TA-1 colon 1. We've seen the colon designation one other time, although we did not talk about it, and that was for Great Lakes Field Service. We had their Friends of Scouting SA-17, which is highlighted in a Sunday special, and then their first regular became the S-17 colon 1. So what does it mean when we're talking about classification for collecting that we get a 1 colon 1? Well, Crossroads of America for their first CSP is listed as having the S1, has a couple of variants, A, B, and C, but they have the S1, and then after that they produced an anniversary issue, 1910 to 1985, and that was listed as S2, but then collectors and then those that author the collecting guides found out that this patch existed. When you've already been numbering and you find that something exists prior to the numbers you've already listed, they're going to put that patch in its place, and they're going to put it with the number of the one preceding it. So when S1 was produced, then this patch was produced. So this is going to be called, because it's a twill and especially, so it's a TA-1, and then they use the colon designation to put it in there without having to renumber everything else that existed afterwards, which may produce a lot of confusion for collectors. So for Crossroads of America now, the patches that they've produced go S1, TA1 colon 1, S2. And they didn't have to renumber S2, SA3, S4. None of those numbers get changed, but this gets put in its place in the correct order using this colon notation. So it means it came after 1, and then it's the first one that was inserted into place. If you had a couple of variations, you could have colon 1, colon 2, colon 3, all of those getting inserted into place if, say, there was a whole series they didn't know existed and then needed to put that in, adjusting for collecting. Again, this is just a little bit of an aside on collecting in general and may not apply to everyone watching, but those of you that are collecting, if you're not sure what that notation meant, hopefully that's helpful to help clear up any confusion. If you have questions on that, questions on collecting or classification within collecting, please drop those in the comments. I'm happy to field any of those and help other collectors along, especially newer or younger collectors, so that you can recognize what the information is that is presented. But this is the band patch as produced for Crossroads of America Council because the band continued to exist, but these patches were in very limited supply, only produced to band members. And so the Central Indiana ones that came before it and this Crossroads of America band patch are all a little bit difficult to find. We're happy to be able to bring one to you on the channel today, and we hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Sunday Special. We're back every single day with brand new episodes of First CSP. We hope to see you back here for the next one, but until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.